The greatest power you possess is your ability to choose. Join Lowe's Moore as he reveals how you can begin to maximize that power by exploring yourself on the deepest levels and committing to making lasting and positive changes. Get ready to achieve breakthroughs that will lead to accelerated growth and transformation, because you are now tuned in to The Blueprint.
Why they actions contradict the lamb. I'm fellowshipping when I'm with the fam. That's more relations, that's foreign and foreign.
I say put mental health first, because if you don't, then you're not going to enjoy your sport and you're not going to succeed as much as you want to. So it's okay sometimes to even sit out the big competitions to focus on yourself, because it shows how strong of a competitor and person that you really are, rather than just battle through it.
We've seen increasingly that athletes are getting comfortable with the idea of discussing mental health and the idea of, treating their, state of mind, their mental health as kind of a body part, in the same way they would attend to a sprained ankle or a pulled hamstring, that they are going to take time to recover if they're feeling any kind of mental duress. And I think it's a really healthy and productive conversation to have. Teams and franchises and athletes and coaches now treat physical injury different than they did a generation ago. The idea of just icing somebody down or slapping them upside the head and saying, get back out there and do it for the team is increasingly a fading notion. And mental health is sort of a new part of the prism here. The idea that teams would have an investment in not just the mental health that applies to their execution on the playing field, but just their general health and happiness is a new thing. And I think that it actually, in this case, in an interesting way, has been athlete-driven. It's the athletes who are coming forward and talking with great candor about their own struggles.
I think we're just a little bit too stressed out, but we should be out here having fun, and sometimes that's not the case.
In the past, we know that people have not talked about mental health, especially in the public realm, because there's so much stigma that exists. And while that stigma still exists, we see a lot of high-profile athletes talking about their mental health. On the clinical side, we also see a lot more cooperation with larger organizations to try and understand what it means to have a mental health diagnosis and what that might look like for their individual athletes. A lot of people think that athletes just appear and show us their natural grace and abilities. And while it's true, many of them have outstanding physical abilities and we love watching them perform, it takes many, many hours to get them in that place of mental toughness to be able to execute their skills on demand. So I think that it's important for people to understand that even though they see that public excellence, sometimes there's quite a bit of private anguish. It's important for people to realize that these athletes are humans first. They have emotions, they have lives outside of sport. So it's important for them to take care of themselves too.
We've already seen in the conversation that's happening and the elevation of the topic, not just in sports, but in workplaces at large, a real benefit for people to feel that they can have the liberty and the courage to come forward and have these kinds of conversations. That kind of comfort, I think, is a real important thing. And we've seen it in the past, that sports can often be a vessel for broader societal conversations. And I think that's what's happening here.
Welcome back to the Blueprint Podcast. I'm your host, Lowe's Moore. And as many of you know, that in the month of May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And, I wanted to start with that piece, because I've been doing over the course of this month, I've been thinking a lot about this issue, right? And I kind of thought about myself a lot. And growing up, And remembering in elementary school, sometimes these things, we don't think of it, that young people could be going through mental health issues, or they may not even be mental health issues. They may just be natural things that kids grow up with each and every day. And I was just thinking about my experience, particularly in elementary school. I came up, my family, my mother and father, moved up from Plymouth, North Carolina to Mount Vernon, New York, and I was just thinking about a moment in time where I was in I think it was I can't even remember what grade it was, but by the time I got here, but I remember not adjusting well, and I remember repeating that grade, and then I remember how I felt during that time, and then it was like kind of an onslaught of things that was particularly happening with me as a young man. I don't know about being self-confident at that particular time. I was like, really having a tough time in school. I had a tough time learning, picking up things, being open. I was just thinking about those things, going through my experience, growing up in elementary school, and just thinking about some of the things that young people will be going through today, just to learn how, number one, to learn how to read, to start to learn basic foundation of reading and basic foundation of math and science, and all the things that we were going through, that we go through in terms of elementary school, and think about today that we should be more aware, more conscious of what young people may be experiencing now in preschool, now elementary school, middle school. And I was just thinking about a whole, all the different emotions that I was experiencing back then, and trying to make that adjustment. And it's got to be crazy out there. And if you didn't get a chance to see this, there's a TED Talk with Dr. Nadine Burke Harris, right? And she was talking about early childhood trauma and the impact that it has on your entire life, and how that trauma, that early childhood trauma, could impact you in many different ways, not only just mentally, but physically as well, and why people have high blood pressure, diabetes, all kind of things as they get older, because we have suppressed a lot of the stress that we were dealing with as young people. So I just wanted to throw that out there, and that we could be more aware. And I want to give props to a pediatrician, Dr. Arthur Hall. I want to say thank you, because I didn't understand it at the time, but I used to take my kids, my wife and I used to take our kids for their doctor's appointment their physical each and every year. And throughout the years, Dr. Hall, as soon as we come in, and he started talking to my kids, and first question he would ask them was, "How do you feel?" Right? Have you been feeling any stress lately? Has anything changed in your life? And I was thinking, like, man, they're in elementary school. Why is he really asking? And he asked that same question throughout, from elementary school, middle school to high school. And I didn't know at that time you could show signs, right? But it's a great question to ask. How do you feel? Right? Is there anything that's bothering you? Has anything changed from the last time you've came here? We just wanted to make you aware, that this is Mental Health Awareness Month. And then finally, I want to say this here. That's my phone. It dropped. But anyway, physically, sometimes mental health can impact you because there's something physically going wrong, or issues. So it can impact you in terms of your mental. sometimes, again, you could be experiencing things and it impacts you mentally as well. One of the things I was thinking about today, since this was Pentecost Sunday and being in church, I was thinking about how did I survive? How did I overcome some of these things? And I think a lot of it had to do is that, and one of the things I constantly try to do, and hopefully this will be helpful for anybody out there, right? Because sometimes when you grow up, you concentrate on what is physical and you concentrate on what is mental, right? And then this is the kind of thing that has helped me out through the years, was that I started to think more about what was happening to me spiritually than what was happening to me mentally and physically. So it seemed like the closer I got in my relationship to God, right? And over the years, now my spirit man got strong and was able to, through my spirit, I was able to be stronger mentally and physically, right? The closer I got to God, the more intimate I got into my relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ, right? The stronger I got in handling and managing what was going on in my life mentally and physically. So I don't know if that helps anybody out there, but I think that's an important thing. Sometimes we forget spiritual, but my whole goal for the rest of my life is to manage, right? To manage my life from the spiritual perspective, right? Not my physical and mental perspective, right? I want my spirit to control my mental and physical, not my physical and mental to control my spiritual. So I wanted to lay that out there to you. So let's get rolling. I want to start off with my my book of the week. And one of our good friends, Terry Williams, she wrote a book called Real Talk, Black Pain, right? If you get a chance to pick this up, man, this particularly for African-American families, right? Because we don't talk about mental health. We don't deal with mental health. We don't, try to address the issues that we may be experiencing or going through, right? That can impact us mentally. And this book is a very powerful piece that, focuses on how we deal with it or don't deal with it. But that is a very, very powerful book. Make sure you get that. And it is a chapter in there specifically to black men, because, we don't talk. we don't express how we feel. Right. And so check that book out. And then here is the word of the week, called pain. Right. The word of the week is pain. When you go in the doctor's office, and you're not feeling real good, you notice there's a sign on the wall. The doctor says to you, or the nurse says to you, how severe is that pain? Right. Is it a 1? Is it a 10? Right. And, pain is a sign that we need to do something, that something needs to happen. Right. And so we need to know what pain is. Right. And then we need to know that we can speak up about pain. Right. That we can turn around and say something to our parents about how we're feeling. That if I'm a man, I could say it to my wife. If I'm a son or a daughter, I could say it to my mother or my father. Right. We need to understand that we shouldn't run for pain. We shouldn't be in fear of pain, but we need to meet pain head on, and we need to tell people that we're in pain. Right. And so, thanks, Sydney. He said, that's the scale. Yeah, that's the scale. And we need to let people know when we're in pain. Right. So, and it could be physical, it could be mental, it could be spiritual. Right. But we definitely need to communicate, or find somebody in which we can communicate with. So that's my word of the week. And then here's my Pierce Harper affirmation moment. And it says here, this is just a thought for the day. Greet today with joy in your heart. Take a deep breath, look around, and see all that God has blessed you with. Right? There's always something to be thankful for. Always something to be thankful for. Right? So that's my affirmation quote moment. And then here's my music and movie. There's a song out. I think everybody should listen to this song. It's by Dak. It's called To Be a Man. Right? You should go on YouTube, look up Dax, 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 To Be a Man. right? And very powerful piece. You should check it out. And next week, man, check it out. For all those who come on each and every week, check it out. And I'd like to hear what you think about that song. He got a song out. It's very powerful, and everybody's grabbing a hold to it. And then the movie of the week is MVP, right? It's about a retired, successful football player, right, who ends up having, well, they kind of force him into retirement, right? And he's really not ready to go, but there's no doors that are open. And so he finds himself with resources, with this family that he's been distant with for a long time while he was playing football. And he's just messed up in his mind, right? He's having mental health situations, and he's panicking. He's anxious, and he runs into a veteran, person of the military, a veteran. He's having the same problems, coming back from war, his assignments, having the same problems. And somehow they build a relationship, and it is actually it is a true story, right? It is definitely a true story. And it's a relationship built now today between former veterans and former NFL athletes, right? Former NFL athletes. It is a program now to help each other make a transition from, coming from war or coming out of sports. So very powerful piece as well. And then my person of the week is Simone Biles, right? As I featured in the, she took a stand, man, very powerful stand during the Olympics, man. She wasn't feeling well. She was having never felt like that before, and thought that it was important for her team, for her to pause, right, and get help and get herself together, and put her faith in her team that they could go on to be successful. So she's my person of the week. Oh, I think I'm finished. Oh, man. Yeah, the Blueprint dropping nuggets. Woo! Hey, I want to show you this video, and then I'm going to introduce my guest for this evening. It's a little long, but hang in there, because my guest, we're going to have a great conversation today. And I don't even know where my little ball is. Oh, there it goes. Here's my, yeah, I'm dropping my pebble in the pond, man, and I am expecting an awesome show tonight. So let's get rolling.
I cried unto the Lord with my voice unto the Lord did I make my supplications. I poured out my complaints before him. I showed before him my troubles. When my soul was overwhelmed within me, then thou knewest my path. In the way wherein I walked, have they privately laid a snare for me.
This week on Melbourne Motivation, I would actually like to do something different. I want to dedicate this segment to wrapping up what has been a tremendous year of highlighting some of the finest young leaders of Caribbean heritage.
Hard to really just be like, you know what? I'm going to bet on me. I'm going to stop pouring energy into everyone and everything else and really just focus on me and doing things that really make me feel great.
The entire Ari Jam family, the Bridge Nation, thank you so much. It's been amazing. 2022, more to come.
Listen, it has been our privilege and honor to have you as part of what we do here. We look forward to some great things come 2022.
You have to progress, there has to be progress some way, somehow. It could be a small progress, right? It could be something huge, but progress, that's my word for 2022. Whatever it is that I'm doing, I want to feel like I'm progressing. I want to feel like, I'm improving on whatever it is that I'm doing. So my word for 2022 is progress, because progress equals happiness.
Makes people understand that we as a community can give back, even if when you don't have to be rich to care.
It's that time of evening when we now request, and we have the honor and distinction of him here. I was showing off on with my sorrel with no alcohol. I'm not getting no version. I'm not getting no. So we're looking forward to the next, and I'm saying to myself, then that's a reflection on those who are saying that, because it would have meant that failure took place and you're on guard. And so, it's important that we embed these thoughts into our children, and we guide them. It's our responsibility. After we pick me.
Absolutely. Erwin, as you say that, I do want to throw out some thanks as well to the All-Star team that is with us. Of course, Queen Tamar, King Jordan, ensuring every week that this segment goes off as smooth as possible. And, I also, too, have to send some thanks to the bold and the dynamic and the courageous young Caribbeans that I have been able to interview, right? Greatly appreciate the information and inspiration that they have brought to this platform, and we are going to continue it. And of course, lastly, I do have to send some thank yous to every single listener who tunes in weekly, lending their energy and their engagement, right? Even off air to the platform called Melbourne Motivation. And of course, Erwin, my mentor, my general, as you always say, we know you have choices, right? And so thank you for always supporting.
Be real to ourselves. That the same way we could have that resolve for what you just said. Why is it we can't do it within our family structure? Because that's where it starts first. Family structure. And then you build from there to the community.
Bro, congratulations on your 2-year anniversary. Welcome to the Control Center. Where I edit all your videos. Alright, it's been an amazing journey. Here's to another one. And here's to whatever else you decide to come up with, because they are extravagant. Oh, hold on, here's my best part. Oh, I love that part. Right? Never alone. Never alone. Alright, so I have one more thing to show you. Alright? A few of my favorite little bits at the end of your show. More.
I'm feeling very excited now. I want to give out some thank yous. I want to say thank you to every guest that has been a guest of Melbourne Motivation. Of course, the great Mr. Erwin, Claire, to Tamara, Jordan, Prezi. And that is because this episode would be the 50th staging of Melbourne Motivation, something I could not imagine a year ago. So,
where's the champion? You. Where's the champion?
All right.
Where's the champion?
The champion. I like that.
Congratulations.
Watch it. Me say me terrible like a cancer world. You can't stop me future, go vampire. Me a gangster G, gangster girl. Catch 'em full of ice like my curls. So watch me kick it up on our sky time. Skelly and one watch over my time. Not just no shadow after dark. Night time, we realize them a muggle in the eye line. Drop it. Watch it make me take the podium and fire like a soldier gun. Come and know so when me spit them spread out like linoleum. Everything me chat them react like said them a sodium. This time them not go hold me down. Me know them want to hold me tongue, but tell them said before me done. Me make the glory run the story. Come gas up the place petroleum. How with them the when me a shell down auditorium and teacher could do call me down. Them could do with us call me. Call me terrible.
Yeah. Tambourine, Erwin, tambourine. Ladies, thank you so much. Erwin, I'm having a vision. I'm seeing a Melbourne Motivation Festival in the 60 degrees in the shade. Real hot, oh yes, in the shade. Said it was 96 degrees. Shade. 10,000 soldiers on parade, thinking I and I to be the big bad one sent from overseas.
mute. But what's up, man? Miguel, what's happening?
Coach, how you doing? How you doing? Coach, I'm feeling blessed.
Oh, man.
Thank you for sharing that video. I had no idea the moment it was made that it, serve a purpose like this today. So I'm overwhelmed. I'm happy and to be talking to you again. It puts me back years.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the invite.
Hey, you know what was crazy? We were talking a little bit earlier before we got on, right? And this morning when I woke up, ESPN was on, and they were doing this special on Kobe Bryant called the 6-year plan, right? And it looks like Kobe had a girls' team, and one of the members of his team, of course, is his daughter Gigi, right? And he must have created for them a 6-year plan, right? And they were showing from the inception of Mamba mentality and his team of girls, which they lost. I think there's only 4 of them, right? 4 of them left, I think, right? 4 or 5 of them that were left from the team, because there were a couple of teammates that passed away in the crash as well. But evidently, collectively, they had put together this plan. They all was going to go to school together, and now they're seniors, getting ready to graduate. And they all every year does this. They do this celebration where they take these flowers out for Kobe and Gigi and all the other people that passed away in the thing, and they stayed to the plan.
Wow!
Right? They just actually won the state championship together, and so they're moving now. They're moving on. They're going to colleges. They receive college scholarships and stuff like that. But it was a 6-year plan, and it made me think when we were talking earlier, and I want to talk a little bit about this. When I first started playing basketball, Mr. Jones, who God rest his soul, he just passed recently, and he used to get guys up early in the morning, to practice and stuff. And we thought, man, that was crazy, right? But he had a plan. Like, he used to always talk about the plan and what we could do. And it wasn't necessarily about basketball. For us, it was, how do we become productive citizens, right? And so, and I said it at his memorial that the one thing I asked Mr. Jones, if I was ever successful, what could I do for him? I was thinking like maybe a car. If I become real successful, maybe a car, maybe a house, whatever it is. I'm young, so I don't know. And so he said, for me to do what I did, what he did for me, he wanted me to do that for somebody else. Wow. Right. So which was one of my motivating factors at the Boys and Girls Club with starting training, right, was to get guys up early, right, and then to use basketball, right, as a instrument or tool to help them become successful and productive citizens in life. So you were talking about that, and it was honestly my pleasure to get up, to be there, because my whole goal was, if you had to be there at 6, I had to be there at 5.
Yep.
Right. So and then all you guys coming in there at 6 o'clock in the morning and listening to us talk basketball. More than basketball, talk life, man. Can you speak about that?
Absolutely. I'm so happy. I have the privilege of hearing that backstory about your motivation and why you did what you did, because you have long been one of these superhero characters in my life and in my mind. And to hear you say a part of your motivation was passing on what you received. And as I take a look at my life right now, that really is the foundation. And so for our audience listening, Coach Moore is one of my basketball developmental coaches when I was in high school playing basketball. And I was telling Coach, listen, I didn't know a thing. And so when I tell you I was soaking in every bit of information that you gave out. And now the work that I do is centered around youth empowerment. And I'm telling you, word for word, quote for quote, so many things you told me is the same things I'm telling the thousands of students that we work with across New York City. I mean, word for word. And don't let it be, my student athletes, because now, I'm asking the questions, how many quarters does the game of basketball have? Right?
Yes,
I
right.
remember you asked that question one morning. It's about 5:36 in the morning. I said, what's coach talking about? And the way you put it in perspective that, yeah, we're all going to say 4 quarters, right? And then you spoke about that fifth quarter, and that fifth quarter being everything you do to prepare before you get back to that moment of jump ball in the game. So are you eating the way you're supposed to? Are you training the way you're supposed to? Are you actually listening to your parents in the house? Are you helping? Are you actually showing up to classes and doing what you're supposed to do? And I never forgot that. And so I take so much pride in passing on that information that you taught me. And so I'm glad you were able to give me that piece of your motivation, because for the rest of my life, I'm going to say, I'm doing my best to pass on so much that you were able to give me, Coach.
Oh man, that's awesome. I appreciate that. But we used to have some fun too, going out eating together, hanging out together, spending time, man. You guys are just really gentlemen, man. I can bring each and every one of you guys on, and you guys, I'm like Mr. Jones, when he seen me successful, he was like, "Oh man, that's one of your greatest joys, right? Is to see that those seeds that you sown, and then the seeds that you watered, right, blossom,
Yeah.
right, and I'm proud of you." Right.
Don't make me cry, Coach. Don't make me cry. Don't make me cry.
No, I am proud of you. I'm proud of all you guys, man. When I see you, man, it's just amazing. And then to see all of you guys at the county center when Woodlands was playing for the champion, I think it was a championship, right?
Yeah.
To see all of you guys there supporting your team, the guys in high school now, and to look at the success you guys are having right now is important. And then I want to say thank you again to you and Kevin and I'm trying to think of Kenny, Darrell, and when I used to ask you guys, we was doing the entrepreneurship. You guys were starting to start your business, and you guys used to come to the Boys and Girls Club and meet with the kids and tell them about what you were doing, what your goals were, what your dream was, ultimately what your goals are, and what you had achieved at that particular time. And I'm grateful because they got a chance to see guys who used to come to the club.
Yeah.
Right. Who went on to graduate from college.
Yeah.
Right. Graduate from high school and graduate from college and then go on to become successful. I mean, just powerful.
Yeah. Coach, every time I think back, I realize how much I really didn't know. No idea. Even playing high school basketball, I had just came from Jamaica not many years before. And so the opportunity to look back now and go, one, if I knew now what I knew back then, I was like, I think I could have given even more. But I was lucky enough to have, again, as I mentioned, these superhero characters where I go, how did I even end up at the club to receive that sort of attention that you were, it's like, what? What are the possibilities? And there's so many people that were just champions for me. And then, as you mentioned, the group of guys, when I came to America, I lived in the Bronx, and then I moved to Westchester in about 7th grade. And then to be amongst these guys that I still call friends today, amazing set of guys. As you mentioned, we all graduated college. We all listened the same way. We were all ambitious the same way, and all had that same thing where we pretty much all right now are finding different ways to pour back into the youth And so when I say here I am today, it's literally because I had figures like yourself and so many other coaches and guidance counselors that gave me information that worked.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell back then. We're just listening, you know, and
Yeah,
trying not
no.
to get into trouble, you know.
No, you don't. You don't know. You know, it's like wax on, wax off. Why paint the
Yeah.
fence? And then somewhere down the line, you become aware. And I want to thank Coach Ron Nimhart,
Yes.
right, and many of the other coaches from different cities that used to bring their players to the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon. And Ron, Coach Ron, was a product of the club, right? And it was what made him who he was and who I am, right? And so we value having people come to the club, male, female, come to the club, have an experience, right? And just a powerful piece. So yeah, let's digress for a moment. Let's talk about, because besides what we were able to do and what you allowed us to do, right, we got to think about, particularly on the blueprint, we talk about the importance of family, education, faith. So talk about family, siblings growing up and what they planted, the foundation they laid in you.
Yeah, absolutely. My journey started, I was born and raised in Jamaica. And I came to America in 1996. I was about 10, 11 years old. I first lived in the Bronx. And 222nd and Carpenter, I went to PS 103, MS 113. And I remember I came in the winter of 1996. And I couldn't believe it, because being in Jamaica, you sort of think America, the roads is actually paved in gold. I was actually looking for that. No kidding. You actually think like money's on the trees. No kidding. I was actually looking for that. And I came in the winter of 1996, and it's like this crazy snowstorm. And I've never felt cold like that a day in my life. I never felt cold like that a day in my life. And so it was this physical transition coming from a very hot climate to now my body didn't know what to do. My lips would break, like my fingers, I can't feel them. And so just physically acclimating to the United States was very challenging. And we moved to the South Bronx, and then we moved to Westchester. And so I was able to very quickly, within like 2-3 years, gain a little bit from the Bronx, the South Bronx, and then Westchester was just a completely different avenue. But what I can tell you is my education in Jamaica laid the foundation, I think, for the rest of my life. And what I tell students is, in Jamaica, I always tell the story. We would, let's say, go out to lunch, and before you walk back into the class, the teacher would give you a word to spell. If you spell the word right, you walk into the class. If you spell the word wrong, you would get hit, sent to the back of the line. And now you're crying, you're frustrated, only to get up there again and hope you're not holding up the class for the rest of the day. So like that's what education was like. And I come to America and I go, oh, this is going to be a breeze. And so in what it was I had a competitive mindset towards my education. I had a competitive mindset. And so a big part of that motivation, though, was to always make my mom proud. My mom, absolute hero, an amazing woman. And I went, if I get the best grades, I would be the person that my mom didn't have to worry about. And so I grew up in a big family, about 5 of us in my household: Stacy, Joseph, O'Dane, Maggie, Ellen. And then I also have 3 other siblings on my dad's side in Jamaica. But I did everything in life to make my mom proud. That's the sort of kid that I was. And one of my favorite things to do education-wise was to get all the good grades. And then I know when it comes time for a graduation, I was going to get a whole lot of certificate. And I was one of these kids that they would often call up to like give a speech. And I'd always start it the same way. I'd like to thank God. And then I'd also like to thank the most beautiful woman in the room, my mom. And I'm a kid, learning to think this way. So, my mom is everything. And my family is really anchored by my grandfather, who is sort of like no greater human being that I've known other than my grandfather. And that's because my grandfather is the reason that his three daughters, my auntie Valerie, my auntie Shirley, my mom, Janice, and my three uncles, Uncle Kali, Uncle Basil, and who we call Shati, Uncle Irvin. He brought us to America and gave us that chance. And so my root really is, how do I make my mom proud and my grandfather? How do I represent what he did? Because if it weren't for him, I wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation with you. And just to cap that off, I wrote my college essay about my grandfather. And my grandfather is one of these men, he'd walk miles upon miles to church, a deacon in the church, a man of God. He'd wake us up 5 a.m. Maybe, Coach, you know what I just realized?
Oh.
Coach, you know what I just realized?
What's that?
So my grandfather would wake the family up like 5 a.m. to pray and to have sermon. Like, this is non-negotiable. And so now I'm realizing maybe the willingness to wake up 5 a.m. and come to the club to play basketball.
Yeah.
I just realized that.
Started with your grandfather.
Started with my grandfather. He's an absolute amazing man. And when I told him, and I got the chance to read my college essay to him, and I say, Grandpa, I want to be just like you. He said, no, son, I want you to be better than me. And so it's really just chasing the just magnanimous man that he really was.
Wow, man, that's awesome. I mean, isn't family awesome, man? I mean, what would we do without family?
Coach, it's just amazing. Yeah, look at them. They're amazing.
Yeah, and then if you add like all the family you add to it along the way, you know.
It's my son Makai.
Yeah.
14 years old now.
Coach, you added us, me, Ron, all your teammates. I mean, all the people you're meeting now, and it just keeps going on and on and on. But man, so when you and I remember, because one of the things you was at Woodlands High School.
Yeah.
Right. And so one of the things of being realistic in terms of, looking at Marvin High School, I think it was like a A school or AAA school, whatever it is. And you looking at who would come to see you guys play. That wasn't really a big deal. The big deal was to make productive men who could be productive, not only citizens, but they had a gift to play basketball. Let's be excellent at it. Let's be our best, and then let the chips fall where they may, right? And then, to talk about like, hey man, this is going to end in 4 years. What are you going to do? Because the first thing is like to graduate from high school, graduate from college, and then think about what it is that you're going to do. You need to think about that ahead of time, right? And to have those conversations with you guys were very powerful, and then to see you go on and do it. Yeah. I mean, we could be, because like to see us, to see our sons go on, our daughters go on, and in our family, and then to think like I can go out, and help other young men, think the same way, and then to see you do it, right? To live long enough to see you do it, right? And I mean, that's why when I see you guys, man, I get all psyched up, man. I was like, yeah.
Coach, the other day seeing you at the county center, man, I still can't express. I'm downplaying how excited I was. First of all, you look the same coach. And right now, if you told me, Miguel, meet me tomorrow at the club. I'll be there listening, trying to get back into shape at this age that I'm at. No kidding. And so I was really overjoyed to, really just let you know how much sort of the mindset principles, I apply them on a daily basis. And as you mentioned, there's this, ball is life, and there's many ways you can take it. But no kidding, every single thing, every decision in my life, I approached it the way I learned basketball, right? I approached it the way I learned basketball, with the same fire, with the same sort of humility to be like, I don't know this game, and I am learning it. And here are these superheroes that's teaching it to me. I am going to, first of all, listen. I am going to listen. I don't want to miss a thing. And so if they tell me to run, I'm going to run the hardest I can until I pass out. And
yeah, so, you should do that too.
Oh, yeah. I'm not sure if this is normal, but I'm going to run.
No, you did 100. You did things 100 miles an hour. We was like, come on, man, you got to pace yourself. You're going to die out there.
So coming from Jamaica, like many of us are just naturally fast. And no kidding. I remember, and I mean many days, but I remember one day Coach Ron is like, son, you have to slow down. You're running past the rim. So he said you have to slow down when you're getting closer to the rim. It's moving so fast.
Yeah, because you ran right by it. My wife had the same problem. She used to run so fast because she ran track. She used to run so fast, and she run right past the basket. I remember one day you did run right past the basket. Man, I was like, yo, do you know it's a wall behind the basket?
When I tell you I was learning, but let me show you how far off and how important it was to really have so many people pouring into me. I remember I get to Woodlands High School in 7th grade, and, friends, they were like, are you going to play modified? I remember thinking, what are they talking about? And then JV. I'm like, JV? Varsity. When I tell you I just came from Jamaica like 3 years prior, and I lived in the Bronx. And let me tell you how fun it was. And the reason, outside of like going to my aunt's house, my uncle, Humphrey, big basketball fan. So after church, we'd go to the house and the Knicks would be playing. And I remember the feeling of like watching the games and, wanting to be like Mike. That was absolutely a part of my upbringing. But what also happened is when I just came to America, there's this kid named Nathaniel. And Nathaniel was very good at basketball in 5th grade. And we'd go to lunch and he would beat everybody and bully them. And so my eternal fire was like, I don't want to be bullied by this kid. And so I decided I was going to learn to play basketball. And so we go up to 222nd, like the weekend. And I told my mom I wanted basketball. And let me show you. I went and bought a yellow basketball coat. And I didn't know basketball was supposed to be orange. All I know is I just came from Jamaica. Green, gold, and black, those are my colors. So I got this yellow basketball. Folks made fun of me. But when I tell you I played. And by the time I get to Westchester, I started to figure it out a little bit, but still had no context. So as you mentioned, sort of, the winning the championships and going here and this school versus that school, I had no idea. But speaking again just about wanting to make my family proud, I was always a good student. And so at the same time that I was captain of the basketball team, I was also vice president of the National Honor Society. And I was also doing theater. And I was also in a dance club, which is like a modern dance. It's like, why is the captain of the basketball team like wearing dancing shoes? He's late to practice because he had a dance what? So I'm like, hey, coach, you and the dance instructor need to work out.
And know your coach, right? You got to know your coach.
Oh, I'm telling you. So I was, as a kid, I just always found myself doing a lot, but I didn't realize I was doing more than my peers. It was just, this looks interesting. There's some value I find in it, and I would do it. And then later on, I would realize like, oh, so by the time it came to college, I had no concept of college. And so I'll talk a little bit about the work that I'm doing now, which is to prepare middle and high school students for college. And it's truly because I realized I had no context. didn't have a lot of resources. And so that's where my passion is right now. But what I realize and what I love to tell students is just be active, do stuff. And when you find individuals that's willing to pour into you, listen, and that's just a good starting point.
Yeah, and then so you graduate from high school, you go to college, right? So talk about that choosing the college, going there, and then ultimately graduating, right? And talk a little bit about after graduation going into this. I guess what you think you're going to do is be this corporate guy. So talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely, I'll make it quick. Because I was a good student, my guidance counselor would always come to me with opportunities. Hey, here's a scholarship. And so one big resource was I won this Westchester-wide scholarship called the Jandon Scholars. And they gave us money for school. And that was how I got my first laptop. And so that was a big resource. My guidance counselor also came to me senior year and said, hey, Miguel, because of your grades, you can apply early to these colleges. Still no idea what she's talking about, but Ms. Holly Gann Jones. And I said, okay. So whatever she said, I did it. And I was actually the first student to receive an acceptance in my high school. So by like November, I already had an acceptance, but again, I don't know anything. So I actually thought I was good, right? I applied to some more schools, and I really thought just once I get an acceptance, this is it. And so I remember started visiting some other schools with friends, and how I ended up at the University of Albany. I had a teammate that went there the year prior, and he said, hey, just come visit. And I went. That was my first time seeing a college campus. And because he went there and there were some other individuals that went to SUNY Albany, I said, okay, that's the school that I'm going to go to. And so that's the reason I chose that school. But I can tell you along the way, if it weren't for that experience, I probably wouldn't have ended up at the University of Albany. And I probably could have gotten into so many schools. But I tell you this, when I went to visit the University of Hartford, which is where I got the first acceptance, and I remember we're on the tour, and I said, excuse me, miss, are there any Jamaican stores that sell food in the area? And she said, no. There's no Jamaican food? She said, no. No kidding. That's the reason I didn't go to the University of Hartford. Like, I didn't know.
That was the context?
That was the context. I'm trying to tell you, I didn't know the right questions to ask, I just didn't. And so I laugh now, but again, I just realized, how much I didn't know. So I go to the University of Albany. I studied public policy. I wanted to be a policymaker. I did end up through the same John Down Scholars, was able to work at the Westchester Board of Legislators for a few years. And, I was a young, passionate guy, wanting to help, wanting to make a change, quickly realized politics is no way I'd be happy for the future, going into politics. So I switched course, decided to go to, after I graduate, I got to tell you this piece, but after I graduate, after that, I decided to go to law school, got into a few law schools, and was just doing my research, speaking to people, and realized that the majority of lawyers don't actually practice after a few years. But it wasn't that. I remember I had a friend who had this amazing internship, making $40,000 a month during the summer. And she was ahead of me, and she didn't like it. She'd be crying during the summer. I'm like, so wait, you're making $40,000 for the summer and you're crying? I was like, yeah, I'm not going to law school. So that's the reason I didn't go to law school, because again, I thought it wouldn't make me happy. You see, this is how I'm making decisions. I didn't go to business school, and I went to Fordham University and got a master's in business, focusing on entrepreneurship. And the journey then, my background since then has been corporate, right? One of my favorite stories, Coach, one of the first corporate jobs is with New York Life as a financial advisor, building my own practice. And I do want to say thank you again, because every time I showed up to you and mentioned something, you actually gave me the opportunity. And so I remember you were doing this amazing fundraiser for the Boys and Girls Club. And you told me, come on. You gave me the opportunity to come to the event and represent myself well. And that's the chance that's where I got the chance to meet the amazing Mr. Denzel Washington. And one of my favorite moments I remember, he comes over, and my mom is a big fan of Denzel Washington. And so imagine this crazy story. Denzel comes up, and I go, you're the reason my mom don't think I'm the most handsome man on the planet. He does his Denzel thing. He's like, well, she's right.
Yeah, there go that picture right there.
Wow, Coach, I'm a kid from the hills of Jamaica. I'm not supposed to have these experiences, but for amazing, superheroes and mentors like yourself. So my entire trajectory, corporate, I go from New York Life. I was working very hard. It was an amazing opportunity. I'm young. I still have this basketball mindset. I'm like, I'm gonna get rich in 1 year. My son was young. Quickly realized that I was working too hard, the same 5 to like 12 midnight, 5 again, and just realized that wasn't making me happy. I leave and ended up going to Bloomberg. And when I resigned from the New York Life job, I had no plan. And it was just, earlier you spoke about the closer you got in terms of spirit to God, is the stronger you got, and almost like the more clear you got. And that was what was happening for me. The closer and closer I got, and really trying to figure out, well, what do you want to do? And like, who are the people in your network? And I just had to figure it out. And I'll tell this quick story for hopefully just so many youth listen to this. But while I was in grad school, the Fordham University, they decided to take us to meet and be introduced to different corporations in Manhattan. Again, Coach, I had no context. This is my amazing Russian friend, Ilio. And Coach, they take us to Bloomberg, and they're doing this presentation. And all I knew was Bloomberg was the mayor. I had no idea he had this company, none of this stuff. And I'm sitting in this presentation for like 30 minutes, Coach, and I understood nothing. Stocks and bonds and this. I'm like, I don't know what they're talking about. But the company was just the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And they had like free food that you could just go take, as much chips as you want, as much soda as you want, as much like peanuts, as much fruits. And so I walk out the presentation, I'm like, I'm gonna get some chips. And when I walk out, the presenter, his name is Sam Page. Sam Page comes out, and I go, hey, you're the guy that was just presenting to us. He goes, yeah. And Sam Page and I get into a conversation for about 15, 20 minutes, Coach. And we're just talking. We're getting to learn each other. And Sam Page goes, you seem like a really great guy. And I think you'd be a great fit for Bloomberg. Coach, that's all I understood. Sam Page, who works here, said that I would be a great fit. And he said, if you ever think about it, this is my card, send me an email. I'll tell you about the company. I'll teach you how to prepare. And he was like, yeah, just let me know. And Coach, if that's not a God moment, I don't know what is. And so now I'm leaving New York Life because I wasn't happy. And I remember Sam Page. Just came to me. It's like, Sam Page.
Yeah, that's what God does, man. He brings back to your memory.
Sam Page. And I called him, and no kidding, he did exactly what he said he would do. And I imagine, I tell you, I was always willing to listen. And, I listened, and I made it into an amazing company, was there for a few years, did extraordinarily well, left to start pursuing entrepreneurship, and then went back into corporate, was continuing to have a stellar career. And then in 2019, decided to leave because I found a bigger purpose. And when I'm pursuing opportunities professionally, my core values are the people, purpose, and the impact. Who are the people I'll be working with? Who are the people we'll be serving? What is the mission? What is the purpose of the organization? And then what is the size of the impact I could possibly help to make? And so in 2019, I left corporate to join Path with a Purpose, which is an amazing young lady, started by an amazing young lady named Ms. Samantha Sinclair. We went to college together. And so I love to tell college students, you have no idea who might become a lifelong friend. You have no idea who might become a future business partner. And so our organization, we focus on education innovation, specifically focusing on college and career prep. and we partner with middle schools, high schools, different community-based organization, and our products and services serves as the tools that everyone on our team, we all go, we wish we had this stuff when we were in high school. And so everything from taking the students on college trips everywhere, upstate, downstate, CUNY, private HBCUs. We do workshops on every topic you can imagine as it pertains to college and career prep. And we do it for students, we do it for parents, we do it for educators as well. And then we've also innovated college study flashcards, the first of its kind. And more recently, in 2022, we created what we call My College Pod, which is a digital ed tech platform. And one of my favorite parts, outside of just the easy access to this information, is that parents can seamlessly gain access to college and career prep information, because I know it's something that would have been valuable for my mom.
Yeah, I mean, when I was kind of doing the research and started to see, the power in what you guys were doing, and the reason, if I can put it in the right words, many times I go to, whether it's elementary school, middle school, high school, and like you said, coming from Jamaica, right, and not knowing, right, it's not just coming from Jamaica and not knowing. It's like people who are already here. I mean, who live here that don't know what the process is. Now, I have to go back and say, when I look at myself, and I'm sure my wife can attest to this, is that when we were in particularly middle school to high school, all of our counselors were very connected, very, very involved with where we were going, what were our thoughts, so forth and so on. And then when you got to high school, you always visit with your counselors, asking you about, where do you think you're going? What do you think you're going to be? What do you want to be? Those kinds of things, which is very rare today, right? Where I think counselors know who are the top of the line students. And so maybe they may be asking them about what their future is. I knew that's the first thing you do when you come in ninth grade, is they started talking to you about what are you going to do when you graduate? What's your thoughts? And now today, maybe those things don't happen. So having pathways to purpose is so important and powerful, is that now students can become aware, right? Because many of the times when you don't know how many times I've gone to high schools and talking about, always career day, and asking kids, hey, what do you want to, what do you want to be what do you want to do when you graduate? And many have, everybody in the class raise their hand up and say, oh, I'm going to college. You going to college? Right? What does it take to actually get in that college? Did you take the SAT yet? Did you take the, ACT? I mean, and everybody's saying, no, I didn't do that. And you're talking to juniors and seniors. Now you can talk juniors and seniors and they don't even know. Right. So, and I'm not going to paint with a broad brush. I'm sure there are plenty of schools out there that's doing the preparation. So you having this tool, right, is very, very important. I think I have a quick video. If we can show that. Let's see. The one on. No, it's the one where they're celebrating. Yeah. I'm gonna show this real quick, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
I'm super appreciative that you all are here and decided to volunteer your time. So we can just go around, say your name, what college you attended, and whether you're staff or a volunteer.
I'm Patrice. I go to Binghamton University, and I'm volunteering today.
My name is Amaya Castro. I go to Binghamton University and I'm volunteering as well.
My name is Ralia Cassidy. I went to Binghamton University and I'm also volunteering. My name is Kathleen Flores and I'm a staff at Path to the Purpose.
Hi, I'm Samantha. I went to SUNY Albany and I'm also staff.
My name is Miguel Melbourne. I went to SUNY Albany and our staff.
So today we're going to be hosting the third annual Path to the Purpose College Awareness Day here at PS 214. So we have a full but very short day ahead. Welcome to College Awareness Day. My name is Samantha Sinclair, and I'm the founder, owner of Pathway to Purpose. So we're going to be having some conversations about college, to hear what you feel about it, and for you to meet our team.
Yeah. Pathway to Purpose. Yeah, no, I think that's powerful, man. I mean, what you guys are doing is powerful, man. Now, I just want to show that as an example, because sometimes you can talk about it, but when you see it, right, it's important. I can't tell you how proud I am, man.
I'm sweating. I'm trying not to cry because, Coach, I'm telling you, it's as you spoke about before. Let's say young athletes being able to speak to other athletes that might say, hey, I excelled in high school, I went on to play, or even if they get the extraordinary, rare opportunity to speak to someone that has played at the highest level like the league, there's some mechanism that gives them the opportunity to just understand things differently. And so when we get a chance to and what we love to do is to find other folks that went to college and say, hey, we're going to put together this special event for this school or this organization, and just come in and just talk about your college experience. And they're like, do we have to prep? I'm like, no. The fact that you did it and what you experienced and however your experience was, the challenges, the successes, this is the real information we want to give students. And can we do it as soon as possible? And so, as you mentioned, a lot of college prep, typically, it's like those 4 months senior year, it's just not enough. And so can we start to help students to think from middle school, from ninth grade, and give them real information? And then what's special about us is we make it fun. We make it fun. We have a lot of fun. And but importantly, what we also think about is, how do we empower the students? They need the information and they need to know what they need to do. But at the same time, how do we empower our educators? Those who are actually in school with our students every day. How can we give them tools at their fingertips so it's easy for them to talk about college and career prep? And then this one is super important to me, because I'm telling you, if I ask my mom a few questions about my journey, she's still going, I don't know what you're talking about, right? So many of us we just had to do it. So then how do we create tools that's also empowering parents? And then at the same time, there's so many community-based organizations. As a big part of my story is just, again, I'm sure folks perhaps understand at this point the role the Boys and Girls Club played in my upbringing, and preparedness for life. And so we love to partner with community-based organizations as well. And then just broadly, there's so many companies that ensure that they have efforts to impact students for their next levels. And so we just take an innovative approach. And so if it's not there, we're going to create it, and we make it fun and simple.
So can give us something that we can put up here now, and how people can get in touch with you. And
Absolutely.
So yeah, give it to us real quick here.
Yeah. There are two websites as it pertains to Pathway to Purpose. There is www.pathwaytopurposenyc.com, right? And that's where you're going to see the full breadth of everything that we do, the products and services. And then more recently, the EdTech platform we created, where right now any parent can go to this website and say, you know what? Yes, my son or daughter, they need this college prep information. They can go to mycollegepod.com, mycollegepod.com. And then I also give you our email. Our email is info@pathwaytopurposenyc.com. And so please feel free to reach out to us. You know, it's work that we're very passionate about because we're ultimately the students that we're serving.
Yeah, no. That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's the information below.
Yeah,
you guys have been taking a look at it.
Absolutely.
And hey, we all need this as parents. You know, we were very fortunate, my wife and I. I mean, I wasn't fortunate in my youth to be able to get this information. Although the Boys and Girls Club were very helpful, and I'll tell you the power of it was whenever, and Denzel has talked about this all the time. When I first walked into the club, there were banners in the whole lobby, throughout the whole lobby, and they had a little sign at the bottom of the banner saying the name of the person, when they started the membership at the club, and the school they attended. So
wow,
we used to walk in elementary school, and we used to look up probably every week. We were saying, "I'm going to that school right there. Of course, such and such went to that school over there," and every week it would change, you know. But it was at least in your mind, right? And even today, if you went to the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon, you walk up the stairs. There are banners on the wall where people went to school, and then when you go up into the rooms upstairs, there are banners of where people went to school at, right, to show the importance and power of why we should be preparing them to be able to go to college as well. So this just amazing. It's just powerful, man. And thank you. I don't know if there's any questions we have. You see that question down there? What business should I start as a 15-year-old?
That's a fantastic question. What business you should start as a 15-year-old? The first thing I would say is think about what is something that you are passionate about. And when I say passionate about is you have a natural interest in it. There's a natural interest. You will read books on it. You'll pull up YouTube and learn more about it. Or it could be you play a musical instrument. It could be you can sing. It could be your passion for video games, right? And so you're willing to do that. And then here is something that when you think about, before you get to the business of it, I want you to identify what is the skill. What is the skill behind that thing that you're interested in, right? So for example, let's say you're 15 years old. Let's say you want to start a podcast. Well, what might be some of the skills you need? Do you have some organizational skills? Do you have great communication skills? And then, so I want you to identify what are the skills that is associated with that thing that you have a natural interest in. And then now when we talk about business, starting a business is very easy, to be honest with you. There are companies you can reach out to, and as long as you have that little fee, they'll do the paperwork for you. But what I want you to do then, once you identify the first two things, is to fall in love with learning. Because starting a business or being an entrepreneur, I can tell you at the end of it, should you be successful, is one of the most rewarding things you can do. But I can tell you up front, it is absolutely one of the hardest things you ever do. And so you need to have an internal motivation to learn. But what I'll also tell you, fantastic question. And a part of what we do at Path to the Purpose is we actually created an entire module on entrepreneurship. An entire module on entrepreneurship, right? And so we did it in two ways. One, we created in 2020, I believe, these college study flashcards, 5 different sets. And one of the last sets we created was entrepreneurship. And so now you want to learn the key terms associated with owning your own business. You see? So you want to learn. And then we double down. And in the EdTech platform, the entire module is about entrepreneurship. And so now we're teaching you how to monetize your magic, right? And so great question. Hopefully that gives it a small play you can run.
And you have the information down there below. And then if we can show real quick that video real quick on those cards. I think we get an idea what those cards look like. Yeah, you made it easy for us here.
The Entrepreneur Study Flashcard Deck contains 24 cards with significant terms and definitions to help students learn about the rewarding world of entrepreneurship. This deck is designed to empower students to think outside the box and to develop leadership skills. By exploring entrepreneurship terms, students will gain insight into the unlimited possibilities for their future. Get yours today.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Hey, check this out. Here's an important thing I'll say to what I say to students, right? Whether we choose to become entrepreneurs or, go into our careers or whatever, this is my firm belief, right? That number one, we are our first business, right? So our name. Right. And I always tell students, look, there's so many ways to look at this. You can go to GoDaddy.com. You can go to all these things. Purchase your name. Right. That's the first thing you can do. If it's $9 a month, whatever it is, purchase your name. Make sure it's available and pay for it every year. And because you are and start building the business. Right. And building good business starts with building good character, having a good attitude, being a good student. Right. Being on time, all those things in terms of your business. You can't run a business and you late. Right. I mean, it just doesn't work. So but you are your first business. If you can't take care of you. Right. It's going to be hard to take care of a business. Right. And so that's my thought about business. You are the business. Your name is the business. What people think about you is the business. What legacy will you leave? I mean, that's more important than anything, right? Is that you are your own business. So start with you.
Absolutely. I concur.
Do you have partners with school districts?
Absolutely. Miss Marie, fantastic question.
Do you partner with school districts? Of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic question. We do partner with school districts. We've partnered with over 24 school districts in New York City. Over 24 school districts, and have been able to impact over 15,000 students. And so, when I speak to, I currently live in Brooklyn, and when I go back to Westchester and, talking with folks in my network and I tell them what I do, they're like, wait, are you doing it with Woodlands? And I'm like, great question. So, absolutely. We are excited to partner with as many school districts across the country. And we're actually in that place right now where we do have the products and services that can seamlessly integrate into helping schools with their current college and career prep plan, right? And so what we say is our job is to either enhance what you're doing or completely help you to create it from scratch. So absolutely, yes, we do.
Here's crazy, man. Like, what's happening? You finish?
Yes.
Because one of the things is, man, that we do need this and we do need partnerships, right? Sometimes like at the Boys and Girls Club, you can't, you have your programs, right? But then you need the partner, right? Because you can't do everything. We try to do everything, but we're not efficient in doing it well. So sometimes you got to bring in partners and let them do the work that you can't do, right? And be okay with that. So that very powerful, man. I like the Pathways to Perfect. I love the name. It's just awesome. And time is going so fast. You get on here, you think an hour and a half, and it goes really, really fast. So, One Love, we talk about the Jamaica, Caribbean. Man, there's a whole mindset, a whole culture, right? So, let's talk about Melbourne motivation.
Absolutely. And so when I tell you God works in mysterious ways, right? As a, let's call it a young black man that makes it to the heights of corporate America, you don't just resign, right? But as I mentioned, my vision in being able to work with Path with a Purpose and leverage all the expertise I learned in corporate America and put it into education was seamless. And so let me tell you how I get into Melbourne motivation. I actually get the opportunity to go on the radio, right? To be interviewed, to talk about Melbourne, to talk about Path with a Purpose. And it was a fantastic interview. I was able to really do a good job of talking about what we do. And after the show, a few weeks later, I get a message. And it was that they were very impressed with the interview and the information I put out there and thought it was very necessary, especially in the Caribbean community. And then they told me the young lady that actually interviewed me on the radio was leaving. And so now they're looking for a new host. And the premise is that typically in the Caribbean community and at the news stations, a lot of older, more mature folks, and not a lot of stuff about the youth is being highlighted. And when it comes to the Caribbean, you're going to hear the bad news about the youth faster than the good news. And so they wanted someone to come in, that's going to find young Caribbeans that are still in the Caribbean, that are here in the States and abroad, and to interview them, one, so we can highlight and amplify the amazing things they're doing across various industries. And in this way, it project a different sense of the young leaders that we have and give the broader diaspora an opportunity to support what they are doing. And so that's how I got started with Melbourne Motivation. I got started March 9, 2021, and 2+ years later, I've interviewed over 90 young Caribbean folks, and it's been a journey that, Coach, I'm still going, God, and so what I've done since is to take 90+ interviews, and I plan to continue, but what I wanted to do was take time to build up a proper website and to, more importantly, build a community. And so I created a community called Melbourne Motivation HQ. And folks can go to www.melbournemotivation.com and be able to sign into Melbourne Motivation HQ. And the vision there is, how do we take what we know is necessary, which is we have young Caribbeans who are doing amazing jobs. How do we get them to tell their stories so that the broader diaspora can be inspired and informed by what they're doing? And so we think about, I think about myself in college, and when I tell you, there's so much I didn't know how to thrive in college, but I figured it out because I knew how to listen. But how might we be able to connect the youth wherever they are, but whether they're in the Caribbean or in the States? And then how do we have the professionals, right, who are in various careers, and how do we put them in one place? And so now, as we mentioned, the collaboration can happen, the mentorship can happen, the knowledge sharing can happen. And so in the Caribbean community, for sure, the emphasis on education, the emphasis on just give us an opportunity, and we know the students are going to take advantage of it. And something that I was very inspired about from my corporate days at Bloomberg is that Bloomberg had this other company called Bloomberg Philanthropies, and it blew my mind. I was like, you mean to tell me he has an entire other company that only focus on philanthropy, on high impact charities and work that they're doing? And because it was a part of the culture at the company, I was going hard. I was donating my time, my money. I was enjoying, just helping these different organizations. And one day it just hit me. I said, man, how come we don't really have this in the Caribbean community? Because I know that we're willing to give back. And I was just wondering, is this stuff happening? And so I started a nonprofit called One Caribbean Philanthropy. And the idea there is to do as much research as possible, find different high impact charities that are Caribbean led, that's doing amazing things, and put them into one place. And so now it becomes more seamless to learn about these organizations, identify with their missions, and decide then if you do want to donate your time, money to their missions. And so that's also a part of Melbourne Motivation. And just to show you how God just works mysterious ways is not good enough. I like God is precise. Let me show you how precise God is, right? My co-host, the great Mr. Erwin Clare, who is the person that gave me the opportunity to be on 93.5 FM, he has a organization called Team Jamaica Bickle. And for the last 30 years, that organization has been providing hospitality services to our Jamaican and Caribbean youth athletes when they come to run at Penn Relay. And he's been doing that for 30 years, and I had no idea. And Erwin, in his infinite wisdom, when I tell you I've had some real superhero characters in my life, he calls me about 2 years ago. He says, Miguel, I have this organization. This is what we do. And every year we have a gala, and it's one of the premier galas, and I want you to be the MC. I'd never emceed a gala in my life, coach. 400 plus people. And, you know, through faith and just believing that, you know what, God gave me this opportunity. I'm going to do like I always do best. I'm going to prepare as best I can and just deliver the best I can. And we're able to raise $19,000 that first year. And the gala recently happened again this past April, and he asked me to MC it again. And so, you know, asking that question, is this happening in the Caribbean community? And God said, okay, you really want to know? Okay, let me put you on center stage and to really make a difference and really understand. And so there's so many different organizations. And so this ultimately, Melbourne Motivation is my attempt to say, you know what, I understand what it's like to be here and to have to figure out a whole other country. So many people identify as immigrants, and we're all sort of like islands of excellence. And so how can we start to build that unity? And that's why I created Melbourne Motivation.
Yeah, I don't know if my wife, you got any questions you want to? You over there listening.
That's cool. Hey,
Colin. Hey.
You know?
Yeah.
That boy is sharp. It's back when I had some muscles, you know, back. Those days are gone. You know?
Oh, man. So you...
No, I mean, I'm just so impressed with everything that he says as a young man. I guess for me, you know, I heard that the advice you gave to the young man who's 15 years old, but and to the school district, and the young lady that asked you the question is the one that I told you about at the beginning, Dr. Gabaton. She is
Dr. Gabaton.
Yeah, she is the assistant superintendent, an interim assistant superintendent of schools in Mount Vernon, and is looking to Dr. Gabaton Swift. She is looking to do a My Sister's Keeper program. So truly, you know, when people are trying to start programs, and you talked about vision, what is some other things that people should put in place to get their vision off the ground?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. And just to show you how much basketball, I think, has influenced even what I do professionally, which is really geared around strategy, right? And the first thing is, what's the play, right? And so you're looking to start something, it's like, how clear on the vision can you get, right? Which is to simply say, we're going to go out there and we want to win the game, but like, what's the play we want to run, right? And so I remember I took this class in college, and it told us when we're looking to problem solve, one of the premier things you want to do is to figure out the right question to ask, right? And I think that's the first thing. When you're looking to get something off the ground, you want to figure out what is the proper question to ask, because once you figure out that perspective, that thing that you go, that's the problem I'm trying to solve, you're going to find that the next step comes very easily. And so one of the quotes I'm always moved by is believe it was Albert Einstein, and he said, if you gave me an hour to solve a problem and my life depended on it, he said I would spend the first 55 minutes trying to figure out the right question to ask, because I would only need 5 minutes for the solution. And so to give a brief answer, I'd say, how close could we get to figuring out what is the actual problem that we're trying to solve, right? And if we iterate on that question, and maybe it's you already know it, or maybe you say, who are the people on my team? And do you have a different perspective? Do you have a different perspective? And once you're very clear on that, then the next thing is you're going to look and say, well, what are the things that can stop us? What are the different criteria we need to come up with? And then you start to go through that funnels. And then essentially, when they say begin with the end in mind, you're going to spend time up front asking these questions. What are the obstacles? What are the opportunities? What are all the criteria and factors we need to consider? And then you're going to go, then what is the 3 best options we have in front of us? And then from those 3 best options, you're going to choose one. And then from that, this is how now you build your plan, and it's time to take action.
Wow.
And so ultimately, again, is what's the play? But listen, before coach says, this is the play we're going to run, remember, somebody had to think about the play. Why is it going to work? I would approach it that same way.
Yeah, the coach. The coach determines that. She's a coach. She knows that. I mean, she knows the play. Nah, but one of the things too, also, is to add to it, is you said it earlier. What is that you want to do? Right, and you write down that thing that it is you want to do, particularly from a business perspective, whether it's a service or product.
Yeah.
And then you ask yourself the question, who needs this? Right? I mean, does anybody need this product or service? Right? And then once you figure it out, then you take it out for people and you test it. You test it without even asking people what it is. Oh, this is my product or service. But to talk about it and to see whether or not people talk about what it is that you say they need. Right? And when they started mentioning it, oh yeah, well, I need coaching, and you're like, oh, you need coaching? So you poll 25 people and 25 people bring up coaching. Man, if I had a coach, if I had a mentor, right, then hey man, maybe I need to go into the coaching business. Yeah,
absolutely. Because as you say that, I'm thinking of there's so many schools of thought, but one of the things I learned is this idea of MVP. It means minimum viable product. Right. And so a lot of times when we have a big vision and we want to execute it, we sort of thinking of like the best it should be and the best we want it to be. But as you just mentioned, no, you want to go through different iterations of it. And so as we speak about, let's take, for instance, the program that Dr. Gabaton wants to start. We go, well, how do we start a pilot program? And so if the big vision is, we have 200 students. Well, might we try with 5 and kind of see how that goes, right? And so how do we get to a minimum viable product, start from there, and just reiterate and get better and better and better. And one of my perfect examples of that is let's take the iPhones, right? If the first one was so good, why are we up to 14, 15? It's good. If it's so good the first though, why do we have so many different versions?
That's right.
As individuals, it's difficult for us to put that into our own lives and just say, you know what, let me start with the minimum thing that I'm looking to solve for it and get better from there.
Yeah. And I think she's asking, how do you help parents see the end when the students are in elementary school?
That's a fantastic question. I think the first part is to help parents understand what a tremendous advantage it is to be thinking and speaking with parents about college and career prep in elementary school. It's something to be excited about. And the reason why the current statistics says that if you look at the national average, graduation rates is in like the 80s. But when you look at the statistic that says how many students going off to college actually feel prepared, it's 20%. So you're saying the graduation rate from high school is in the 80s nationally, but the number of students that actually feel prepared for the next level is in the 20%. There's something wrong. So that means we're sending a great amount of students that's actually not prepared or feeling prepared. And so the other part of statistics is typically, it's a crazy stat that says that the number of actual students that speak with their guidance counselor nationally, it's like once or twice throughout their entire 4 year of high school. So these stats are abysmal. And so then you go, well, who's going to college? Millions of students are going. And what you find that in some schools, not all school districts, right? We know they're different, but you'll find that college prep, typically we start to have some conversations in 11th grade, but from the student perspective, the students don't really activate until it's time to take action. And so we're talking about college and career prep really boils down to like 4 months senior year. So if we speak to parents from a place of what the actual data is showing, and to say, time out, you're looking for products and services and information to start to help prep your son or daughter right now, they're like elementary school? Oh, you got it. You're off to an amazing start. You know, and so
yeah.
that's
I agree with you that 100%. I mean, you know, they should be, in terms of elementary school, yeah, a seed should be planted. I mean, one of the things I think, you know, with my son, Losey, right? And I didn't know he was going to respond this way. I think, how old was Losey? 5? Was he 5 years old when I said, where do you want to go to college at, man? You know,
He said Harvard.
yeah, he did. He said, I don't know where he got it from, but he said Harvard, and he said, what was the other one? Brown, and then he said he what's the one abroad?
Oxford.
Oxford. He wanted to go Oxford.
Come on, talk to me.
Yeah, and so we for Christmas we bought him the college sweatshirts, you know, from those schools. Right now, he didn't, you know, but the thing is, it was on his mind. I mean, the thing is to start thinking about it from the perspective for parents to get it on their mind, right? Regardless of where they are in terms of their level of education, right? And whether they could read or any whatever the situation, you can always speak, right? Because words are powerful. So when you start to just have a conversation about college, and like you say, it's so many things are available today. You can go to YouTube and start talking about college. I mean, all the social media you could talk about college. It's just easy today to do that, particularly at the elementary. And when if your mom is saying it in elementary school, male or female, they getting it. I mean, they getting it. And I think Sherelle said something up there. Miguel's one of the good guys.
Appreciate you, Sherelle. Now that you done stop beating me up in basketball, I'm one of the good guys. Sherelle does not take it easy on us.
Nice job, Miguel. Keep up the
Coach
great work.
Ron,
Yeah.
superhero.
Yeah, nah. This has been awesome, man, right? And yeah, look at that. Great job.
Richie Rich. Appreciate you.
No. This was awesome, man. I want to thank you, man, for when I called you up. You was like, yeah, man, let's do this.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So I appreciate you so much, Coach.
Yeah, we got to do this again, definitely, because we need to probably get deeper into, you know, and reach out to some more in terms of parents, in terms of the preparation. Like the assistant superintendent was talking about, you know, how do we talk about the elementary school? How do we start early? How do we start sowing those seeds? And how do we start watering those seeds? You know.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to having a conversation with our superintendent, and we definitely work with elementary schools as well. And so, you know, it's and even touching on the parents, you know, everybody feels more confident when they're prepared, and so we try to make it as easily understandable for elementary school. And as you mentioned, Coach, parents, no matter what, sort of their comfort and experiences, some definitely. Anytime I'm here, you know what I'm going to say. Let's go.
Let's go. So, Miguel, thanks, man. I appreciate you, man. And thanks for taking time out your busy schedule. And I want to say to each and every one that's out there, I thank you for your support of the Blueprint Podcast each and every week. Man, I love you guys, man. And I'm coming up on the end of year 4. So I'm getting ready, prepping for going into year 5. And I want to thank you guys for your support. Without your support, I mean, you encourage me to get on here each and every week and to bring on the best guests possible and to bring forth the best information and revelation that I can. I love you guys again. Thank you for your support again. And I say this each and every week, man. If God allows you to wake up tomorrow, make tomorrow your masterpiece. God bless you, and I'll see you next week.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of Lowe's More, the Blueprint Podcast. Stay connected and follow us at our website, www.lowesmore.com. That's LOWESMOORE.com. You can also join the discussion on Twitter at Lowe's More and on Facebook at Lowe's More Jr. As always, thank you for pushing your mindset towards a better reality. This concludes the most thought-provoking portion of your day. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast to stay fully up to date with everything we're up to. Until next time, be kind to yourself and each other.
What they teaching is a joke. I ain't buying it like I'm broke.